Given an array of characters chars, compress it using the following algorithm. These are the rules that we should follow. The first rule is, if in the list of characters that we have, the number of like a distinct character is equal to 1, we are going to just add that character. Like this example, we have 1a, we are going to just add a here, no numbers. And if the number of that distinct character that we have is bigger than 1, we are going to add that character and the number of that character that we have, right? So something like this. Here we have 2a, we are going to say a2. We have 2b, we are going to say b2. We have 3c, we are going to c3. But we have another rule here. If the length of the number of that character that we have is smaller than 10, we are just going to add it here. But if the number of items, like the number of times that we have that character in the list is bigger than 10, like this example that you see, we have 12b, we are not going to add 12 here. We are going to add 1 and 2. If we had 13 b's, we were going to add 1, 3. If we have 23 b's, we are going to add 2, 3. This is how it works. We are not going to add as one input. We are going to use it as multiple inputs. Considering all these rules, what we are going to do to solve this problem, we are going to use two pointers, pointer P and pointer I. Let's see what we are going to do with pointer I. With pointer I, if this is the list, we are going to iterate over every single character that we have. And with pointer P, we need that because the question is asking us to do it in constant extra space. So we cannot use another list. We should do it in constant. So that's why we are going to use the same list, and we are going to update these values as we iterate over, right? And so this way we are not using extra space. So we are going to say, as long as I is smaller than the length of the characters that we have, the characters list that we have, we are going to say count is equal to 1. Why we are going to say count is equal to 1? Because we are not going to have an empty list. This is one of the constraints that we have here. The list at least has one character in it. So we can say, we can start from count 1. And then we are going to say while I plus 1, because we have count 1 here, is smaller than the length of the characters that we have, because we are not going to be out of range. And if the characters that we have at index I is equal to the characters that we have at index I plus 1, okay? So if the character that we have in I is equal to the one beside it, what we are going to do, and we are going to have I plus 1 here because we are comparing each value that we have at index I with the one beside it. And if we get to here, if we don't say I plus 1, it's going to be out of range. So, and we don't want that. So what we are going to do, we are going to say if they're equal, they're going to add 1 to the count. Sorry. And then we are going to add 1 to the I. So I is going to move forward. So let's have count here. So it was 1, now it's going to be 2, and then we compare if I plus 1 is smaller than the length. Yes, it is. If I is equal to the one beside it, it is not. What we're going to do now, we need to update the value that we have at pointer P. We are going to say chars at pointer P is going to be equal to chars at pointer I, right? And then we are going to move P one step forward, right? For the first one, it doesn't make sense that much, but while we are moving forward, it's going to make sense more. So, and then we need to check if these conditions are like one of them is true. So we are going to say if the count that we have is bigger than 1, so this, if it is smaller than 1, we just add that character, and at this step we are done. But if it is bigger than 1, we need to do one more thing. What we need to do, we need to add the number of times that we have that character in as the value in pointer p, right? What we are going to do here, we are going to deal with these two conditions as the same thing. So what we are going to do, we are going to use a for loop. We are going to say for digits that we have in, we need to, because we are going to iterate, we need to have it as a string, right? In counter, we are going to say characters, the place that p is pointing at is going to be equal to digit, which is a string, right? And we are going to move p one step forward. With this condition, with this for loop that I have here, I'm dealing with these two. So it, no matter if if the number of characters that we have is smaller than 10 or bigger than 10, with this for loop we can deal with that. If it has only one, it's gonna add one. If it has more than like one like more than, it's gonna, the value, if it's more than 10, it's gonna deal with that with this for loop, right? And then what we need to do, we need to move the pointer I one step forward here. It's gonna be here, and this value is going to be updated to 2, and then count is going to be equal to 1 again. And let's go through this b so you can better understand this code. So as you see here, I is going to point at b, and p is going to point at 2, and after updating that, it's going to point at b here, right? And what we're going to do, we are going to say it start from here, count is it going to be equal to 1. We are going to check if I plus 1 is still within the range, and then we check if I is equal to the one beside it, and if it is, what we are going to do, we are going to add 1 to this, and we are going to move this forward. And then we check again, we add 1 to this, and we are going to step 1 step forward, and add another 1 to this, 1 step forward, and so on, right? So we are going to, how many do we have? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. We have 12 of these, and I is going to be all the way to the end, and we are going to 1 step forward. I plus 1 is not going to be smaller than character, and so what we're going to do now, we are going to update the p at it is pointing at this, and we are going to put b in it, and then we are going to move p 1 step forward, and then we check if count is bigger than 1. It is bigger than 1, so we are going to iterate over the string of this characters that we have, and we are going to put 1 here, and we move p forward, and then we are going to put 2 here, and we are going to move forward p. And now if we had, let's say 3c here, 2c here, right? So now, as you see, now it makes sense why we should update p at this point, because it's not always like the examples that we see as for a and b. Like as we move forward, it's gonna like move forward in the number of characters that we have counted and the count of that character. And as you see here, now I is smaller than, like this is another example, so I is smaller than the length of the characters, and the one beside it is equal. So what we are going to do, we are going to it was starting from 1, so we are going to move forward, and then this is going to be 2, and then we are going to add c here, and we are going to add 2 here, and this is how it works. So the time complexity is going to be linear, and the space complexity is going to be constant. Thank you.